If I would have went to maybe 400, it might have been. That's something, like now I'm doing about 210 a day, so I'm doing about 90 less, and I'm fine. So, but you know, female, like I said, a minimum would be 1 gram per pound of lean mass. If you're trying to put some muscle on, bump that up to 1 1/4 or 1.5 grams per pound. You guys should be fine. All right. Let's see here. Carbohydrates. Like I said, if you have a body fat test and you want to go ahead and plug that into the zone calculator, it's going to give you a guideline. But that's more for maintenance. So I would say if you're a woman in here and you're trying to accelerate fat loss, I would cap your carbohydrates at 100 per day. And then probably no lower than 15. Whatever you do, you need to be consistent with it and ride with it for a couple weeks, 2 weeks or whatever, see how you feel, how you're performing on the WODs, how you're looking, things like that. If you don't feel, you gotta be careful, especially if you get your protein intake up, and like, oh, the pounds are coming off the scale, you could be putting some muscle on at the same time and losing fat, right? So that's why it's a really good thing to get the body fat test done. Then you'll have a true representation of your whole body composition. Like, you know, Rob, Maria, like you guys have had some dramatic changes over the last couple of months, and I really wish we would have known before, you know. And it's been amazing. I mean, Rob, how many pounds have you dropped on the scale? 40 pounds on the scale, but we know you put a ton of muscle on because you got a buttload stronger during that time. So you probably dropped at least 50 pounds of body fat. He's running about 10 pounds per month. Was that average out? She started like February or something like that. And then where'd you start at?
What did I start
Body
at?
weight wise, or what are you doing?
154 and I'm 125.
17% body fat, right? Pretty awesome. Yeah. So, and have you guys been counting protein grams of protein, carbs, and fat, or just pretty much been eating paleo-friendly foods?
Yeah, just eating paleo.
Okay, cool. One thing that I noticed, especially like seeing people here over the last couple of months since we were running the paleo challenges, most people that try to do paleo on their own end up not eating enough. Like, oh, well, I'm leaning out, I'm losing all this body fat, but I have no freaking energy. And that shouldn't be the case because I eat paleo all the time. I got tons of energy. If you're tanked on paleo, you're not eating enough. And I know, actually, I think Aaron and Adam, I had them basically, I kind of helped them out one-on-one, and they were basically eating about half of what they should be. I think Adam was actually eating as much protein as Aaron was. I pretty much doubled his protein intake. So if you're feeling gassed on it, probably not eating enough, all right? So that's why taking, at least getting that hasty zone calculation to kind of get you a baseline going from there, all right? Let's see here. And then, like I said, the protein is the big factor because obviously you guys don't want to be burning off any lean tissue at the same time, all right? So, let's see here. Electrolyte replacement, talked a little bit about salting food. You know, if you're trying to lean up, I would advise against drinking coconut water for myself. If you're in maintenance mode or whatever, or you're doing endurance activities, coconut water is great. It's a great natural hydration drink. It's basically water taken from the inside of a fresh young coconut. It's pasteurized, whatever, but it's got tons of potassium, sodium, magnesium. Basically, pretty much every electrolyte that's in human blood is in coconut water. A lot of third world countries, you can actually take a coconut. The doctors will take a coconut, suck the fluid right out of there, and give it as an intravenous solution. If IV fluid isn't available, it's like that, clean and pure. It's great for hydration. I've used it on, you know, during 50Ks, 100 miler back in 09, things like that. It's really, really good. But like I said, if you're trying to lean up and keep your sugar content low or keep your carbohydrates low, obviously use it. Use it sparingly. Don't use Gatorade, Powerade, all that. It's basically, that's about as far from paleo as you can get. You start looking at the ingredients like, what's red 5 or blue 4? I don't know. You know, something that's made in a lab somewhere, but there's half the other ingredients you can't pronounce on there either. So definitely weird stuff. All right. There's so many artificial things in food and dyes and colors and preservatives and all that now that, like, you hear about all these kids running around with ADD or autism or whatever. It's like, maybe it's something in the food, you know, and you hear about people who get their kids off that crap, feed them paleo, and all of a sudden their symptoms start going down. So, and I mean, obviously, I'm an adult. I've drank some Gatorade here and there over the summer just because it's cheap and it's accessible from the gas station, but definitely coconut water would be my preferred thing over Gatorade, and would rather have you guys just drink water. You know, we've got the reverse osmosis cooler in the back there, which is clean, ultra filtered water, right? And I think with reverse osmosis water, basically, you guys know how that works. Basically, it breaks down into H2O and individual components, strips everything out, and then reassembles it back into H2O. But when it does that, it's taking all the minerals out of there too, all the calcium, magnesium, anything else. What happens, it ends up leaving the water's pH on the acidic side. Water should be neutral, 7.0. Actually ends up leaving it on the acidic side. Bottled water, like the Dasani and Aquafina, it's reverse osmosis water. If you actually got a pH test strip to put in there, it's going to be acidic. All right, so our water cooler back there, it's actually got a post filter, which actually puts the minerals back there, the electrolytes back into the water, so it should neutralize the pH. I've got to bring my pH paper in there and test and make sure they're not BSing us.
Oh, what is feed?
Oh, you know, actually, I took that off there. It's something that I've used like on 100-milers and stuff like that. It's a sports drink that you can get at like All 3 Sports or REI or whatever. It's made by Hammer Nutrition. It's not a paleo product, but I kind of put that in there just weird because people were specifically talking about hydration for endurance events. It's made out of, it's got carbohydrates in it, electrolytes. It's a lot better than Gatorade because it doesn't have anything artificial in it. But basically, the carbohydrate source is maltodextrin, which is made from corn. Like I said, if you're going to go run 100 miles or 50K, I think it's a good product. You know, it saved my butt before when I was cramping up really bad, but technically nobody in here has to immediately use that. So don't worry about that.
So for us non-spiffy people who don't have that cool filter thing, what do we do?
So a couple options. What I've been doing, me and Chris are both getting those filters installed at our house now. But what I have been doing is I've been buying bottled water, specifically Whole Foods 365 spring water. I used public spring water for years, and then I got my pH paper out, tested it. It was like 6.5 on the pH scale, so it was actually acidic. And I was wondering, like, my pH had been right on the acidic side, so obviously I got the Whole Foods stuff tested out. It was perfectly neutral. And if you can find water that's actually like on the alkaline side, like obviously we can't afford to be drinking a gallon of Fiji a day, but it's actually very high on the alkaline side. I think like 7.2, 7.5. They actually have some water, I can't remember the term, ionizing devices or something like that will actually like make the water on the alkaline side. So for optimal health and well-being, we want to keep our bodies at a neutral pH or slightly on the alkaline side. And I forgot to bring my pH paper in. I know last time I think we passed around the pH paper and had people test their pH to see if you were acidic or not. And you're going to get your optimal health and well-being when you're neutral. When you start getting acidic, definitely your problem's going to grow with inflammation and other things like that. And just like talking about with food, certain foods have an acid load on the body, and certain foods have an alkaline load on the body. Typically, meat, dairy, and grains are going to make your body on the acidic side, where fruits, vegetables, especially green leafy vegetables, kale, spinach, baby greens, stuff like that, are going to pull you towards the alkaline side. Certain fruits have a more alkaline pull than the others. But if you're eating paleo, the acid load from the meat, nuts, and all that actually kind of balance out the alkaline effect from the greens and fruits and vegetables and so on and so forth. So pretty much now, actually you've been testing my pH like 3 times a day. Typically when you get up in the morning, you're going to be more on the acidic side. I'm probably like around 6.25 when I get up in the morning, and as the day goes on, I slowly start rising up to about 7.25, 7.5, something like that. But it's kind of cool to get some pH paper and see where you're at, a little science experiment of sorts. But yeah, going back to the water, so I'm doing Whole Foods 365 spring water. It's really good. The other option, some kind of filter. I know Brita definitely filters a lot of crap out there. They have a new stage 5 filter, a 0 filter or whatever. Especially like super pure. I don't know anything about it personally, but something like that would probably be good. Definitely advise against drinking your local city tap water, considering they're using chlorine to kill all the bacteria and everything. Just like chlorine, yeah, it's going to kill all the harmful bacteria, but when you start drinking, I know sometimes I'll turn the tap on, it smells like chlorine. I don't even get my dog tap water, so he's only drinking spring water. That's why he's 14, has optimal health and well-being, right? So, no, seriously, like, he does some stuff. He does, actually, paleo dogs. So, but anyhow, definitely try to stay away from the tap water, chlorine. I know, like, City of Atlanta tap water, there's a study that came out on, I don't know if it was on Fox or CNN or whatever, they tested a bunch of different large municipalities around the country for impurities in the water. They were finding all kind of like residues from pharmaceuticals in the tap water, like birth control. And basically people flush crap down the toilet. It goes into the whole main system, Chattahoochee, whatever. And they're still finding, remnants of this stuff in the drinking water. Pretty crazy, So not something you want to be consuming for sure. Let's see here, a little bit of fat loss gloves. Definitely want to, if you're trying to lean out, you definitely want to minimize liquid foods. Like I said, coconut water is great, but if you're trying to lean out, still a lot of sugar in there. And stay away from the coconut water, juices, things like that. No artificial sweeteners, Splenda, Equal, any of that stuff, right? Even though there's 0 calories in it, it can still send a signal to your pancreas to produce insulin, which is what we're trying to avoid, right? We're trying to keep our insulin levels in check. Pure natural stevia is okay. It's a natural stevia extract. I think fine to use it from Trader Joe's or Whole Foods. Make sure it's not like Truvia or some of these other ones, because basically it has stevia in it, but it's still very highly processed and very, very highly refined, all right?
You talked
Sleep.
about, you talked about honey and agave last time, but
Yeah, the thing with that, agave is pure fructose. So if you're really trying to lean out, you load yourself up with fructose. And typically you want to, I know the last Rumble seminar I went to, I think he was saying you typically want to keep your fructose levels at less than 30 grams per day. And I think there's been some studies where people who were consuming high amounts of fructose, or whether it was lab rats or whatever, but it actually showed accelerated growth of tumors and other things like that. So definitely want to try to keep your fructose levels low. But agave syrup is pure fructose. So if you're in maintenance mode or you want to use it once a week or so, whatever, probably not a big deal, but I wouldn't use it as part of, I wouldn't put it in your coffee every day, is what I'm saying.
what about honey?
Honey, use the same thing, use sparingly, you know. So, I think stevia is great, I like it.
Okay.
You know. Some people don't, but require taste. Sleep's a big thing. You know, really a minimum of 7 to 9 hours per night. Basically, what happens, sleeping, your whole, everything equals out, right? You're resting. People who are deprived of sleep get 4, 5, 6 hours per night. Your cortisol levels are going to go up. When your cortisol level is going to go up, it can actually cause a decrease in muscle tissue. I see a lot of people like dieting their asses off, training like mad, but kind of cannot lose that last roll around the waistline. A lot of times that's from stress adrenal glands, high cortisol levels, overtraining, not getting enough sleep, things like that. So you guys should definitely try to get a good 7 to 9 hours of sleep.
Well, not leave